Bill, if you're on TV, I want you to remember one thing. You learned under the tutelage of Tony Hawk.
What?
You learned under Tony Hawk,
Chuck Olson.
who is still there. Who's he? Somebody told me that Chuck's actually thinking about retiring. He's been there, I've been there since 1985.
Was he there before you started?
I started as a summer intern in the summer of '76. He had been there a year. No, he doesn't. My college, it was in Austin.
Two-way radio.
So he's the lab working on no, nothing was said. We just looked at each other. There's Chuck Olson. Here's the ladder. That's his way down. God put us in this meeting. Very funny boy. Stop being juvenile. Come on, boy. And then he said something else that just made us no, I'm not still he usually leaves early in July. And one Friday he went to and he got he said he was playing forward. Playing my man. We let him in here for free if he streams the lights and he's playing.
I didn't know because I know they can't be mixed in.
It's pretty much everybody.
That game is just a disintegrates. Oh, that's true. It's like future, family's future, safe and like
It was an early precursor to Jane.
oh, you come there Tuesday with names where the county. So Danny actually has some substance to it. Oh, Chuck.
Tony was trying, it was the check.
Yeah.
Denny got Tony was trying to get canceled check.
Tony, yes. If you look at the senior member, now, rumor has it, before there was a prosecutor, there was a district attorney's association, they talked about
Just find your appropriate number, have a seat.
52.
Should be back. Just find your appropriate number, have a seat.
All right. Yeah, Council Chair, nine session, Bill Gregory, 8 hours preside. All right, good afternoon, you may be seated. Yes, Mr. Dean. Come on, boys. All right, good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. As Deputy Garrett indicated, I'm Judge Gregory Adams, and I will be presiding over this criminal matter. I do want to thank each and every one of you for your patience.
Before we begin, and before I read the indictment, I'm going to go ahead and allow the lawyers to introduce themselves, starting with the state, and the defense.
My name is Robert James. I am the Tri-County District Attorney.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kelly Hill. I'm Assistant District Attorney here in Decatur County.
Good afternoon, my name is Anna Green Cross, I'm Assistant District Attorney in Decatur County.
Good afternoon, my name is Andy Pasquale, I'm also an Assistant District Attorney.
And Mr. Clegg, would you also introduce your client at the appropriate time?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning or good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tom Clegg. I'm an attorney engaged in the private practice of law in Decatur. The young lady here to my left is Ms. Andrea Sneiderman, my client and friend.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is J. Tom Morgan. I'm an attorney here in Decatur, Georgia, with private practice. John Petrie, attorney here in Decatur.
Trisha Renard, I'm assisting with Jersey.
All right, lawyers, at this point in time, I will call the case State of Georgia versus Andrea Sneiderman, case number 13, CR 2413. Is the state ready?
State's ready, Your Honor.
Defense ready?
We are in fact, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, both the state of Georgia and the defense have announced they are ready. They have also joined issue in which Mrs. Sneiderman has entered a plea of not guilty to the charges that I will be reading to you momentarily. And the issues have been joined, and that is the issue that you have to determine on whether or not the state will be able to meet its burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt during the course of a trial. This is case number 13, CR 2413. It was returned by the March 2013 term of the grand jury, and it's the state versus Andrea Sneiderman. And the indictment reads as follows. It charges and accuses Andrea Sneiderman with the offense of hindering the apprehension of a criminal in violation of Official Code of Georgia 161050 for the said accused person in the county of DeKalb and state of Georgia between the dates of November 18, 2010 and January 5, 2011. They knowingly and willfully concealed facts and destroyed evidence of Henry Newman's guilt in the murder of Russell Sneiderman, which she knew was evidence of the crime of murder. To wit, the accused destroyed text messages and a record of telephone calls between herself and Henry Newman exchanged on the date of the murder, concealed her romantic relationship with Henry Newman from police, and concealed her knowledge of Henry Newman's culpability in the murder of Russell Sneiderman. Count 2 charges and accuses Andrea Sneiderman with the offense of concealment of facts and matters within the jurisdiction of the Dunwoody Police Department in violation of Official Code of Georgia 161020 for the said accused person in the county of DeKalb, state of Georgia, on or about the 24th day of November 2010. They had knowingly and willfully concealed from representatives of the Dunwoody Police Department the existence of a romantic relationship between herself and Henry Newman while that police department was conducting an official investigation into the murder of Russell Sneiderman. Count 3 charges and accuses Andrea Sneiderman with the offense of making a false statement in matters within the jurisdiction of the Dunwoody Police Department in violation of Official Code of Georgia 161020 for the said accused person in the county of DeKalb, state of Georgia, on or about the 5th day of January 2011, did knowingly and willfully make a false statement in a matter within the jurisdiction of the Dunwoody Police Department to wit, accused told Lieutenant D. Barnes and Deputy Chief D. Size that she never suspected that Henry Newman was involved in the murder of Russell Sneiderman prior to December 28, 2010. Count 4 charges and accuses Andrea Sneiderman with the offense of perjury in violation of Official Code of Georgia 161070 for the said accused person in the county of DeKalb, state of Georgia, on or about the 21st day of February 2012, having been given a lawful oath in a judicial proceeding, state versus Henry Newman, 11 CR 1364, did make a false statement in a judicial proceeding material to a point in question, to wit, that she did not have knowledge that Russell Sneiderman had been shot at the time she spoke to Donald Sneiderman prior to her arrival at Dunwoody Prep. Such statement being material to the issues surrounding the murder of Russell Sneiderman. Count 5 charges and accuses Andrea Sneiderman with the offense of making a false statement in matters within the jurisdiction of the Dunwoody Police Department in violation of Official Code of Georgia 161020 for the said accused person in the county of DeKalb, state of Georgia, on or about the 5th day of January 2011, did knowingly and willfully make a false statement in a matter within the jurisdiction of the Dunwoody Police Department to wit, accused told Lieutenant D. Barnes and Deputy Chief D. Size that she did not know what had happened to Russell Sneiderman at the time she had arrived at Dunwoody Prep, when in fact she knew that Russell Sneiderman had been shot prior to her arrival at Dunwoody Prep. Count 6, charges and accuses Andrea Sneiderman with the offense of perjury in violation of official code of Georgia 16-1070 for the said accused person in the county of DeKalb, state of Georgia, on or about the 21st day of February 2012, having been given a lawful oath in a judicial proceeding state versus Henry Newman, 11-0-1364, did make a false statement in a judicial proceeding material to a point in question, to wit, that she was not romantically involved with Henry Newman, such statement being material to the issues surrounding the murder of Russell Sneiderman. Count 7, charges and accuses Andrea Sneiderman with the offense of perjury in violation of official code of Georgia 16-1070 for the said accused person in the county of DeKalb, state of Georgia, on about the 21st day of February 2012, having been given a lawful oath in a judicial proceeding state versus Henry Newman, 11-CR 1364, did make a false statement in a judicial proceeding material to a point in question, to wit, that none of Henry Newman's feelings for her were ever returned, such statement being material to the issue surrounding murder of Russell Sneiderman. Count 8, charges and accuses Andrea Sneiderman with the offense of false statements and matters within the jurisdiction of the Dunwoody Police Department in violation of official code of Georgia 16-1020 for the said accused person in the county of DeKalb, state of Georgia, on or about the 19th day of November 2010, did knowingly and willfully make a false statement during an official investigation into the murder of Russell Sneiderman, to wit, she told Detective A. Thompson that she had made it clear to Henry Newman that she did not want him to pursue her romantically. Count 9, charges and accuses Andrea Sneiderman with the offense of perjury in violation of official code of Georgia 16-1070 for the said accused person in the county of DeKalb, state of Georgia, on or about the 21st day of February 2012, having been given a lawful oath in a judicial proceeding state versus Henry Newman, 11-CR 1364, did make a false statement in a judicial proceeding material to a point in question, to it, that she did not share a hotel room with Henry Newman in Longmont, Colorado, such statement being material to the issues surrounding the murder of Russell Sneiderman. Count 10, charges and accuses Andrea Sneiderman with the offense of false statements and matters within the jurisdiction of the Dunwoody Police Department in violation of official code of Georgia 16-1020 for the said accused person in the county of DeKalb, state of Georgia, on or about the 5th day of January 2011, did knowingly and willfully make a false statement to Lieutenant D. Barnes and Deputy Chief D. To wit, she denied that Henry Newman was in Longmont, Colorado in July 2010 with accused. Count 11, charges and accuses Andrea Sneiderman with the offense of perjury in violation of official code of Georgia 16-1070 for the said accused person in the county of DeKalb, state of Georgia, on about the 21st day of February 2012, after having been given a lawful oath in a judicial proceeding, state versus Henry Newman, 11-CR 1364, did make a false statement in a judicial proceeding material to a point in question, to it, that at the time she was in Longmont, Colorado with Henry Newman, she believed he was there on business for General Electric, such statement being material to the issues surrounding the murder of Russell Sneiderman. Count 12, charges and accuses Andrea Sneiderman with the offense of perjury in violation of official code of Georgia 16-1070 for the said accused person in the county of DeKalb, state of Georgia, on or about the 21st day of February 2012, after having been given a lawful oath in a judicial proceeding, state versus Henry Newman, 11-CR 1364, did make a false statement in a judicial proceeding material to a point in question, to it, that she and Henry Newman did not kiss while in Greenville, South Carolina, such statement being material to the issues surrounding the murder of Russell Sneiderman. Count 13, charges and accuses Andrea Sneiderman with the offense of perjury in violation of official code of Georgia 16-1070 for the said accused person in the county of DeKalb, state of Georgia, on about the 21st day of February 2012, having been given a lawful oath in a judicial proceeding, state versus Henry Newman, 11-CR 1364, did make a false statement in a judicial proceeding material to a point in question, to it. The accused testified that it was due to her mother's, Bonnie Greenberg's, concern for the accused's safety that she did not immediately report her suspicions of Henry Newman's involvement in the murder of Russell Sneiderman to the Dunwoody Police Department, such statement being material to the issues surrounding the murder of Russell Sneiderman. Contrary to the laws of the state, with other peace, dignity thereof, signed Robert D. James, District Attorney. So all of these charges, Mrs. Sneiderman has signed the indictment along with her lawyers and entered a plea of not guilty. She is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court of law. Ladies and gentlemen, the way we're going to proceed, this is part of the process, what is called Fort Allen, which is the jury selection process. Once a jury has been selected and identified, and seated. Opening statements will follow. Presentation of evidence, closing arguments, charge, and deliberation. Before we can continue, I need each of you for the jury to stand, please. And to raise your right hands. And you will take this following up. You shall give true answers to all questions that may be asked by the court or its authority, including all questions asked by the parties or their attorneys concerning your qualifications as jurors in the case of the state versus Andrea Sneiderman, so help you God. If you will, say I will. I will. You may lower your hand, you may be seated. And ladies and gentlemen, I will ask a series of general questions initially, and if you would like to respond, I believe Deputy Garrett has given you a number. I believe they have the number, you would just raise your number. The lawyers are going to take notes. And if you think the answer, or you think you want to answer affirmative or respond, just raise the number, then at the appropriate time, the lawyers will follow up with that with individual questions. But this is what's called general questions. I'm casting these questions to the whole body. So if you think this applies to you, if you want to answer, just raise the question. If you don't understand the question, I will try to rephrase it if it is unclear. At this point in time, for the purpose of this, you've only heard me read the indictment and you heard the lawyers introduce themselves. But at this point in time, have you, for any reason, formed or expressed any opinion in regard to the guilt or innocence of the accused? At this point in time, based upon what you've heard at this point, have you, for any reason, formed or expressed any opinion in regard to the guilt or innocence of the accused? And what I'm going to do, I just go by the first row, second row, then I will refer to the gallery, first row, second row. So you can, if you want to respond, just raise your placard. First row, second row. First row in the gallery, second row in the gallery, and I believe you want to go back to the third row in the gallery. My vision doesn't see it as far back as I should, but I think that's only 3 rows back. All right. At this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, have you any prejudice or bias resting on your mind either for or against the accused? At this point in time, first row, second row, first row in the gallery, second row in the gallery, third row in the gallery. And this question is your mind perfectly impartial between the state of Georgia and the accused? Now, if your answer is no, you can raise your number. Let me rephrase it. Is your mind perfectly impartial between the state of Georgia and the accused? Mrs. Simon, if your answer is no, you can raise your card. Okay, first row, second row, first row in the gallery, second row in the gallery, third row in the gallery. I'm going to go through a series of questions. I'm going to ask this question. Are you related by blood or marriage to the accused? That's Andrea Sneiderman. Is anyone in the first row or the second row related by blood or marriage to Andrea Sneiderman? First row, second row. First row in the gallery, second row in the gallery, third row in the gallery. There's several names mentioned in the indictment. I'm going to ask you about those. Are any of you related by blood or marriage to a Russell Sneiderman? First row in the gallery, and first row in the panel, second row. First row in the gallery, second row, third row. There were several law enforcement officers' names mentioned. Also, let me just ask, are any of you related by blood or marriage to a Mr. Henny Newman? First row, second row. First row in the gallery, second row in the gallery, third row. Are any of you related by blood or marriage to an individual by the name of Lieutenant D. Barnes, who was employed with the Dunwoody Police Department, or related by blood or marriage to Deputy Chief D. Side, also with the Dunwoody Police Department? First row, second row. First row in the gallery, second row in the gallery, third row. Are any of you related by blood or marriage to Donald Sneiderman? First row in the gallery, second row in the gallery. First row, second row, third row. Are any of you related by blood or marriage to a Detective A. Thompson? First row in the box, second row in the box. First row in the gallery, second row in the gallery, third row in the gallery. Responses? Are any of you related by blood or marriage to a Bonnie Greenberg? First row, second row. First row in the gallery, second row in the gallery, third row in the gallery. since this corporation is made reference to, are any of you currently or previously employed with GE Electric, or GE Corporation? First row, General Electric. First row, second row, first row in the gallery, second row in the gallery, third row in the gallery. And since it was made reference to the police, are any of you currently or previously employed with the Dunwoody Police Department? First row in the box, second row in the box. First row in the gallery, second row in the gallery, third row in the gallery. All right, no responses. And then, were any of you a member of the March 2013 term of the grand jury that returned this indictment, to which Mrs. Sneiderman has pled guilty to all of these charges, and she's presumed innocent unless until proven guilty in the court of law. And the state has the burden of proving each and every material element. But if you are a member of the grand jury that returned this indictment, you could not serve on the pettit jury. Were any of you a member of the March 2013 term of the grand jury? First row, second row. First row in the gallery, second row in the gallery, third row in the gallery. All right. I know all of you were here and you completed questionnaires last Friday. And my question is this. You wrote, and there was, I think, nearly 100 questions, and you've given responses. Have any of you changed, or do you want to change any of the answers that you provided last Friday to today? And the reason I have to ask that question because it's been at least 4 days, and sometimes things change and people get exposed to things. And what happens, the lawyers, to move this along, will have a copy of all your questionnaires, so they have written answers, and they have to rely upon those answers. So if you need to change anything, which is okay if you need to, but you need to tell us now, because what you have written down, they're going to rely upon that is what you express, and that's what you still want to express. So am I clear? Does anyone want to make it? You don't have to, but I'm just putting in that posture. Are there any changes of any of those responses that you may have made last Friday when you filled out the questionnaire to today that you want to bring to the court's attention? First row, second row, and there's all like third row. I'm sorry. First row, second row, number 70, you have a possible change. And we're going to follow up later, but you have a possible change. And one else on the second row. Third row. All right, number 70 has a change. And as I said, the lawyers will follow up with individual questions at that point in time. All right, the last question, I'm going to preface this a little bit, the next question before I actually put it out there. And obviously the way the question is on the questionnaire about the possible amount. In addition to what you may have written already in the questionnaire, the case may, underline the word may, take an additional 3 weeks to resolve. Which means whoever's selected on this particular case will be with us for the next 3 weeks. And that does not include this week. This is a bonus week for us. So I anticipate the case going forward, starting on Monday going forward. It may be shorter than that, but I'm trying to get an outside number because, and what I'm looking for, a type of conflict you bring to my attention, raise your placard, such as obviously you made arrangements, you have to be present because your son, daughter, or significant other or parent is having surgery next week. And it's scheduled, and you have to be there because you're either going to be given blood or given an organ, okay? Those are the type of conflicts. Or if you're with me for the next 3 weeks, you want to tell me at some point in time, if it's not in your questionnaire, that you will go out of business. And as a result, you'll go financially broke, and you'll lose your house, your apartment. Those are the type of things I'm looking for, in addition to what you've written to already. So if you want to tell me, this is going to be your opportunity to raise your placard and say, when we get the individual question, make sure they follow up on that, if it's not written down already. You understand, okay? Because sometimes when you fill out the question, you may not think of everything, but the lawyers are going to rely upon those questions. And I'll just tell you what I'm trying to prevent. Once we get to the point in which the jury's selected, and I'm not saying you will be selected, but then that's not the time to tell me you have non-refundable tickets to Alaska, or you got non-refundable tickets to X, or that's not the time to tell me. The time is to tell me while I'm going through this process, okay? First row, number, if you,
56, I'm sorry.
okay, number 56, we'll make a note, and if the lawyer's going to follow up, you don't have to tell me right now, but we'll follow up. Anyone else on the first row? Number 51, and it's okay to go in sequential order because we're going to take note. For anyone on the first row, second row. number 58, number 60, and they're gonna ask additional questions. And like I said, at this point in time, nobody's been released, nobody's been excused. First row, number, okay? 64, 65, 68. Anyone else on the first row? Second row. Number 70. I'm coming all the way down. 74, 75. Anyone else on the third row? Let me make another 76 first, and then 77 and 203. All right? Now, like I said, all those things will be evaluated at their appropriate, and I'm going to listen to everything you have to tell them. But I've been saying, so remember, when we get to that point, telling me you don't want to be here, I'm going to listen to you, okay? But that's not what I'm listening for, okay? But you're going to be able to tell me that. All right. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, I'm going to allow both the state and defense to ask general questions, and then once they've had opportunity, we'll go to individual questions, okay? Mr. James?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a series of questions I need to ask you. Going to follow the same procedure that the court just followed. I'll start in the jury box, and I'll go over here to my left, and you can respond by raising your numbers. My first question is, you filled out a questionnaire on Friday. Is there anyone here that since Friday has moved from DeKalb County? You're no longer a resident of DeKalb County. First row, second row. First row to my left, second row, third row. Does anyone here recognize another member of the county? I'm not talking about the court reporter, the bailiff, myself. I mean another person who has a number, another prospective juror. Do you look around and do you recognize someone else? And let me qualify that again. I don't mean because you saw them Friday when you filled out your questionnaire. I mean, do you recognize them? All right, first row, second row. First row to my left, second row, third row.
And also, before the district attorney moves on, let me broaden that a little bit. Was there anyone on that big panel that you saw on Friday that you think you may know? Because we're doing this in stages, so they may have been here already. So, and we want you to tell us now if there is anybody you recognize, and B, the next part will be if there is any problem that may exist if you and that person served on the jury together. That's what we're really looking for, okay? So think back, if you saw someone on this past Friday at the big panel that you think you may know, you can tell us at this point in time also, okay?
First row, second row. I have juror number 65 to my left. I have second row, I have juror number 70. Third row, I have juror number, is that 201, ma'am? Thank you very much. Juror number 201. And juror number 52 in the box in the first row. Have I missed anyone? Thank you. Is there anyone here who has seen any press coverage since you filled out your questionnaire? I know you were asked about press coverage in the questionnaire, but I'm talking about since Friday, since you filled out that piece of paper. Have you seen any press coverage since then? First row in the box. Second row in the box. First row to my left. Second row, I have juror number 74 and juror number 75. Third row, I have jurors number 76, 143, and 201. Have I missed anyone? My next question is, have you or someone close to you ever dealt with sexual harassment in the workplace? Have you or someone very close to you ever dealt with sexual harassment in the workplace? First row in the box. Second row. First row to my left. Second row. Third row. Juror number 76 on the third row. Have I missed anyone? Thank you. Is there anyone here, any one of you, that has a close friend or a family member that suffers from a mental illness? Suffers from a mental illness. First row in the box. I have juror number 55. Second row, I have juror number 57, 58, and 63. To my left, first row. Second row, I have juror number 70 on the second row. Third row, I have jurors number 76, 77, 201, and 203. Have I missed anyone? My next question is, does the defendant remind you of anyone that you know? Looking at her now, does she remind you of someone you grew up with, someone you worship with, anybody that you know? First row. Second row. First row to my left, second row, third row. And my last question is, ladies and gentlemen, does anyone here have any bias towards the prosecutor's office, towards the DA's office? Anybody not like prosecutors? First row. Second row. First row to my left. Second row. Third row. Thank you.
Ms. Clegg?
I have no general questions, Your Honor.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's going to take place next, we're going to go to what is called individual questions. But before you leave, my presence, lawyers are here, let me give you these instructions. While you are waiting to come back individually, and also, other times also, but in particular now, do not discuss the case or allow anyone to discuss the case with you. And that means this is what it means. Don't talk about the case. You can talk about anything you want to talk about. Do not discuss the case or allow anyone to discuss the case with you. If someone is near you trying to talk about the case, you got two options. Either move away from them or ask them to move away from you. But since you're going to be collectively together, nobody should be violating that part. Do remain upon the floor where you're going to be waiting. There are going to be ladies and men's room, restrooms available. And if you need to get water, you need to get water. While you're waiting, and even if you're selected, do not read or look at any media coverage pertaining to this case. Do not attempt to go to any location that may have been discussed. Do not go upon the internet and do any research about this case. Do not blog about this case while it's all ongoing. Do not try to go to any location that may or may not have been made reference to. All the evidence that you're going to have to base your decision upon will come to you in the form of sworn testimony from his witness stand and any physical evidence that is introduced during the course of the trial. Although I mentioned there was a difference, but do not consume any alcoholic beverages during lunch. You will have the opportunity to check your cell phones and things like that, but do not text, email, I can't think of all the other terms, about this case while it's ongoing. And also the lawyers and the parties are not allowed to talk with you or interact with you, so I don't ever want you to think they're being rude or discourteous if you see them out someplace else and they don't talk with you or engage in a conversation. What I'm going to do is go ahead and have the deputies gather up those placards that you have, you can pass them all the way down to this end. And then in the gallery, we should pass to the center. I work both sides of this, passing down to the center aisle. We'll gather those up. And juror number 9, I believe you're going to be the first one. So I'm going to let everyone follow the appropriate instructions. If you want to use the restroom, juror number 9 is going to be the first one.
Okay.
Back out, but if you're good to go, you can remain there. But if you want a restroom break, this is the time to take it.
I'm fine.
Just go ahead and follow it. Okay, yes, go ahead. Everyone follow the clerk, and the rows in the gallery, come up this way. Those on in the gallery, follow the clerk back. That is, thank you for your patience. Lawyers and parties may be seated.
Company, here.
Oh, sure. Yes, come on, lawyers. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jeff Hullinger, and we continue here from the DeKalb County Courthouse to give you an update as to all that has transpired this morning. The second session here began a little bit after 1:30 this afternoon. As of noon, they had qualified 30 potential jurors for an eventual pool of 40 who will be qualified. And once they have that pool of 40, they are going to pick the actual 12 jurors and 3 alternates, and that is expected on Thursday. During the questioning of potential jurors today, lawyers indicated they hope to begin the evidence portion Monday, and they expect the trial to last about 3 weeks. We are not sure if they're going to have opening statements before Monday or not. That still is left to determine. Everything right now is very, very flexible, and certainly is a mixture of a lot of things right now, depending on how long it takes to find a suitable jury pool. We will have complete coverage coming your way on 11 Alive at 6 and then at 7 o'clock, plus on the rundown at 10 on WATL and 11 Alive News at 11 o'clock. We have a full team here, and we will be giving you an update on all that has taken place today. So let's go back now to Judge Gregory A. Adams inside the courtroom here in Decatur.
She goes with the office to me. My mother owns her own insurance business. So she comes with me to work.
All right, so you are the primary caretaker every
I'm
day
the
for your child.
primary.
And how old is your child?
She's 20 months.
Okay. Is there anybody who can step in for you if you were to be here for 3 weeks, give or take?
No, I actually have a lady. She's 67 years old. Not only is she pretty frail, but she does have a biopsy she has to go to tomorrow, and they're thinking that she has cancer. That's the only other caretaker I have other than my mother, but she's always busy.
And she works?
Yes, she works.
Okay. All right, thank you.
No question, John.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Just follow the instructions of the court. What state's position?
Your Honor, this juror would qualify for a hardship as a primary caretaker for a 1-year-old child.
We agree, Your Honor.
All right.
She be excused.
Should we excuse cause? Oh, it's number 51 should be next.
That you raised your number about.
Like the scheduling this morning. I called yesterday at 5:45, and as I understood it, it looks like I don't need to come because my number is 51, and the people who are only to come is 1 to 50.
Okay. Okay. So I thought you also raised your number when the judge asked if you were to be on a jury.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Okay. So you can
Because
tell me about that?
I don't drive.
You don't drive?
No.
Okay. And how then did you get to the courthouse today and Friday?
I took a cab.
Took a cab. If you were selected for jury service and have to be here for 3 weeks every day, give or take, what would your transportation system be then?
Take a cab.
That you would take a cab every day? Okay. Is that something that you can do or something that is financially unable for you to do?
No, it's too much.
And you are,
okay, another one. I am in the process of fixing my home that is damaged by a tree that fell on the roof.
when did the tree fall on the roof of your home?
Like 3 weeks ago, but because of the insurance, it was delayed after this time.
Okay. When is the work scheduled to be done?
Supposed to be today, but they rescheduled because of my schedule supposed to be today.
Okay. Do you think that situation will be resolved in the next few days?
I don't know. It depends upon the schedule of the people who are doing it.
if you had to be here beginning Monday from 9 to 5, is that something that someone else would be able to handle for you at the house?
No, I'm by myself in the house. And another one,
Okay.
we're scheduled to go to Florida at the last week of this month, of next month.
Okay, you let us know in the questionnaire about a trip scheduled for the 29th?
Right.
Is that the Florida trip you're talking
Right.
about? Okay. You've heard a little bit about this case, is that right? You've heard a little bit?
No.
Nothing at all?
Nothing.
Okay. So as you stand here now, you don't have any opinion one way or the other about the case?
None.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
If you could remain standing, Mr. Morgan,
Thank you.
the lawyer's going to ask questions.
I have a few questions. They're not me.
Okay.
51. How did you end up in Thomaston from the Philippines?
The hospital has given me a working visa.
Okay. And then you stayed once you came to Georgia? And
Yeah.
you've been in Georgia ever since?
Yes.
But you're educated in the Philippines, right?
Yes, I have a bachelor's degree in medical technology.
And your husband is an echo technician?
Yes.
And what is that?
Like doing ultrasound heart.
Oh, okay. All right. And you're all both currently employed now?
Yes.
And would 3 weeks jury service, would that interfere with your employment? Will you still be compensated?
I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But my biggest problem right now is that transportation.
Okay. And you take a cab from Shanley, is that right?
Yes.
And there's not a way to take MARTA from Shanley to Decatur?
There is, but it will take.
You prefer the cab?
It will take a long time.
And when did you become an American citizen?
More or less, maybe 7 years ago.
Okay. And you have no problem understanding the English language, obviously?
None.
Thank you.
Number 51, how do you normally get to and from work?
My husband will drive me because he's working at Northside Hospital, which is only in front of the hospital where I work at Scottish Rite. So I go with him.
If you are selected, is it possible that he could drop you off here in the morning when we finish and pick you up when we finish at the end of the day?
With his schedule right now, he's leaving the house at 5 o'clock. He needs to be at work 5:30 in the morning every day.
What
4
time do you
days a
go to
week.
work?
5:30.
What time do you get off?
3 o'clock.
How do you get home?
Pardon?
How do you get from
Oh, me?
workplace to home?
Oh no, I'm talking about my husband.
Right, but how do you get from work? When you're at work, how do you get home?
My husband will pick me up.
And what time does he pick you up?
I work 12 hours. That is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
So he normally picks you up.
Yes,
What time does he get off work?
at 3 o'clock.
In the afternoon. If we finish court at 5 o'clock each day, could he pick you up from here?
Yeah.
All right. You may follow the instructions of the clerk. Thank you. What's the state's position?
Say please, this is a qualified jury, Your Honor.
Defense?
Same.
All right, she's qualified. You're number 51, qualified, Kelly. Should be 52 coming in next, lawyers. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Juror 52, you have got, or you had at one time an internship in the law enforcement office?
Yes,
Okay, what was that office?
it was the Financial Litigation Department at the U.S. Attorney's Office,
Okay, when did you work there?
1997.
What did you think of that experience in general?
It was a good experience. Yes.
And you let us know in your questionnaire that you've heard a little bit about this case, but that you didn't have an opinion on Friday when you filled it out.
Right.
Okay, do you have an opinion now?
No.
After being here today?
No.
No. Is there any reason you can think of that you wouldn't be a fair and impartial juror to the state and for the defendant?
No.
I'm sorry, one moment.
Sure.
Thank you.
We're back on the record. You may proceed.
I may have missed it. Did you recognize somebody on the jury pool?
Yes, I did.
Who did you recognize?
Her name is Sheila Fears.
All right. And how do you know that person?
We used to work at Kaiser Permanente
Together?
together.
How long ago was that?
4 years ago.
Okay, because you do some medical records coordination.
Right.
Okay, and is that, did you work with her as colleagues in the same department, or was it in a larger office?
We worked in a float pool, so we used to float. Sometimes we used to work together.
Okay. Anything about knowing that potential juror that you think would make it difficult if by some chance you both ended up on the same jury?
No.
No strong feelings?
No.
Okay. There's something else you want to tell me?
No.
Thank you.
Patriot?
Thank you. Ma'am, the person that you know, that you identified by name, is that someone that's here with you this afternoon, or somebody that you saw in the pool earlier?
On Friday.
On Friday, okay. You don't by any chance remember what her juror number was, do you?
No, I don't remember
Okay,
her.
but did you work with her about how long ago?
About 4 years ago.
Okay, at Kaiser Permanente?
Yes.
Now, you indicated you worked at the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Yes.
Did you work with a particular assistant U.S. attorney or a group, or did you work in a more administrative field? What did you do?
Administrative field.
Okay.
In the financial litigation department.
Did you work with some specific lawyers?
Sometimes I did.
Okay. Do any ones more than others?
I can't quite remember the ones that I did work with.
Okay.
Because that was like in 1997.
Okay. Now, you born and bred here in DeKalb County. You specifically on your place of birth, you put DeKalb General, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
That
pinpoints this for. It indicates that right now you are a medical records coordinator, but doesn't tell us who you do that for.
Longleaf Hospice.
Okay. And how long have you been with them?
2 years.
So you've been in that field for approximately how long then?
About 12 years.
Okay. So that's pretty much what you've been doing after you left the U.S. Attorney's Office, the
Yes.
medical field.
Mm-hmm.
Bear with me just 1 second, please, ma'am.
That's fine, take your time.
You indicated, in response to one of the questions about the Dunwoody daycare murder, that you are familiar with some media coverage, but then when it got more specific questioning about whether or not you remember any details, you remember anything about the trial or defense or the personalities involved, your answers were generally not applicable or no. Is that still your position?
Yeah.
You remember the incident, but insofar as the specifics of the case, you don't recall.
No, not too much.
Now that you know that this case is connected in some way with the Dunwoody daycare murder case, has any other memory jumped up to your mind, or say, oh yeah, I remember this, I remember that, anything like that?
No.
Okay. And if you are chosen as a juror, I believe you indicated that there would not be a work or a personal conflict if, as we believe that the trial itself, with the 12 jurors selected to try the case, will start this coming Monday. Everybody's best estimate is 3 weeks, but that right now is only an estimate. And your indication on the questionnaire is that that would not pose a conflict for you. Not necessarily number one on your list of what you'd like to spend your August doing, but you would be able to be with us.
If my job, if my job allows me to be with you all, I guess I will have to. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
If you could just follow the instructions of the clerk, thank you very much. State's position.
Qualified jury, Your Honor.
Defense.
Agreed, Your Honor.
Disqualified. '53 should be next. In your calendar, your notes may have an indication on 54.
We're missing 54, is that correct?
Correct. Availability, should be a date on it when that person will be available. Under 31 days in July. I was just making a note. Okay. I should say 31 days in this week. You ready to proceed?
Thank you, Your Honor. Juror 53, tell me about the conflict or the hardship you might have with your work if you were selected for a juror, as juror in this case.
Well, I'm the only one who pays the bills at my house, so basically if I don't go to work every day, my mortgage don't get paid.
Okay.
Or my dogs don't get fed.
You'll be able to go home at night. What kind of work are you doing right now?
Respiratory therapy.
Okay. And are you on salary or you get paid by the hour?
Paid by the hour.
Okay. Have you checked with the company that you work for or the agency that you work for to see if they would pay you if you were on jury service?
No, I haven't.
Okay. As you stand here now, do you think that they would?
That I don't know. If I have to come back more today, I'm gonna have to get someone to call him and.
Okay. You also had someone that you recognized in the names of the people on the questionnaire,
Yes.
somebody who might have been an attorney for a relative of yours?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that person's, her name is Esther Panich?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had a conversation with your cousin since then? Do you know for a fact that that was your cousin's attorney?
Well, yes, my cousin was actually one of the young teenage boys that was involved in the case last year with the beating of the young teen.
Mm-hmm.
So she just represented him on the federal about 2 months ago on the federal end.
All right. Do you have any opinions or any feelings after that experience or your cousin's experience that you think might impact you if you were a juror on this case that Ms. Panich is not directly involved in, but you had seen her name in connection with this before?
No, ma'am.
Are you, and you live with one of your cousins, is this the same cousin?
It's not the same cousin, but I do live with one of them.
And you had another cousin or another family member who was, had a situation in Fulton County?
Yes,
That,
that's the same cousin as
that is the
yes.
same cousin, and that's the cousin that
Yes.
Ms. Panich represented him on? Okay. And you didn't feel like he was treated very fairly?
On the state level.
On the state level?
Yes.
And federal was a different
Yes.
situation? Okay.
Well, I won't call it being treated fairly.
Yeah.
They did wrong, and they were supposed to be punished, but I thought the punishment was unfair.
Okay. And in particular, you said you thought the Fulton prosecutor treated them unfairly.
I think he just painted a picture that wasn't true. I won't say to everyone involved. I can only speak for my family members.
Okay. I understand. All right. You've heard about this case before. You came in
Yes.
on Friday.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any opinions about the case based on what you've heard?
No, ma'am. At the time this case was going on, I was in Fulton County and in other courthouses myself with my cousin's case. So.
Okay. All right. And what was the time frame of when that happened?
February till it finished up in the state in July of 2012, and then the federal started, I want to say March 2013, and just ended in June 2013.
Were you pretty involved with going to the
Yes.
courthouse and stuff? Okay, you were there just as a support for your cousin?
Well, I'm kind of like his second mom. We only have about 5 family members here. We're from Florida.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you felt very close to that situation?
Yes, I did.
And do you think having a family member who you are so close to in a difficult situation in the criminal justice system like that, do you think that would affect you as a juror on a criminal case?
No, ma'am.
You don't think so?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And you were a witness in the deposition?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that while you were living in Florida?
Yes.
Okay.
It was actually while I was in Florida, but then I started to go to school here, so they actually had to fly me back and forth, and this was in 1997.
Okay. And that was a criminal murder case?
Yes.
Did you personally witness anything? It wasn't clear from your questionnaire. Or did your cousin witness something?
My cousin witnessed something, but he was one of the ones that didn't talk to anybody, so for him to talk to a detective, I had,
Did you?
yes.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ms. Clay?
Very briefly, ma'am, I don't believe I have too many questions. You did recognize Ms. Panish's name, correct?
Correct.
Your cousin had charges both in state and federal court, correct?
Correct.
He was dissatisfied with his attorney in state court because that person appeared to be overworked, correct?
Well, I was dissatisfied.
Okay. Was your cousin dissatisfied?
I don't know what he think. I didn't care.
Okay. Was your cousin in custody during the pendency of these charges, or was he out on bond?
No, he was in custody the whole time.
So did you have a chance to confer with him on a regular basis about the status of his cases?
He's a young teenage boy, so he vents his emotions, his feelings from a young perspective. So it's like basically just trying to get him to understand that life don't go as you want it all the time.
Okay. But has that case has been resolved in state court, correct?
Correct.
And the federal case has been resolved as well?
Correct.
Did either case go to trial?
No.
Okay. How long has it been since those cases have actually been resolved?
The federal, he just got federally sentenced in June of this year. And in state, he got sentenced July of 2012.
So he was sentenced about a year ago in state court. The federal court sentence was just imposed this year.
Yes.
Did you attend the state court sentencing?
Yes.
And so you saw him actually get sentenced and you saw his attorney speak on his behalf?
Yes.
Did you attend the federal court sentencing?
Only one.
And did you see Ms. Panich actually do anything in court on behalf of your cousin?
Well, he entered a plea, so she didn't have to do much.
But as far as speaking in terms of mitigation or trying to get the judge to ease his sentence or anything of that sort, did you see her actually do that?
No, I wasn't there for the last day.
I am presuming that you actually had met with Ms. Panich, or is that incorrect?
I haven't met her, but over the phone she called me several times, or I have spoke with her secretary or her office.
Okay. How many times would you estimate you have actually spoken to her?
Ms. Panich probably twice.
Okay.
And her office probably numerous of times, just calling, trying to find out information.
Okay. When you have actually spoken to her, can you estimate on each occasion how long that conversation would have taken place for?
Not even 5 minutes.
Okay. So is it fair to say that your actual communication that you had with Ms. Panich was about 10 minutes or so? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Were you the designated member of the family who communicated with the various attorneys?
One of them, along with his mother. Whenever his mother couldn't be there, I was there.
Do you know whether or not his mom actually spoke to Ms. Panich herself?
Yes, I do.
How often did she do that?
I know she currently still speaks to her because she's about to pick up a case for her concerning her job.
Okay. And other than that interaction with Ms. Panich, have you ever had any other contact with her?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, you do know something about this case, but very little, is that correct?
Very little.
There is nothing that you are aware of that would affect your ability to sit as a fair and impartial juror?
No.
You have no preconceived notion one way or the other as you stand here today, is that correct?
That's correct.
How long does it take to become a respiratory therapist?
You could go to school 2 years or 4 years.
Did you go to a 2-year program?
I went to Georgia State, and then my grandfather died, so my last year I actually had to go to a 2-year program.
Okay, so how long were you actually in college for?
5 years.
5 years.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, you can just follow the instructions of the clerk. Lawyer's approach.
And good afternoon once again, everyone. I'm Jeff Hullinger. We are outside the courthouse. We are in the parking lot watching these proceedings on closed-circuit television of the jury selection. And again, let's update you. There have been 2 sessions today, the morning one, and then there was a hour to an hour and a half lunch break, and they resumed just about 60 minutes ago, and that's where we stand right now. As of 12 noon, they had qualified 30 potential jurors for an eventual pool of 40. The expectation is, at least from Judge Gregory A. Adams, is that a jury will be seated by 1:30 on Thursday afternoon. We don't know if the trial itself, the evidence part of this trial, will begin and commence on Friday or if it will adjourn until Monday. That is something we simply do not know right now. But we'll continue to keep an eye on it, and we will continue to update you. Of course, we will have all the information coming your way at 6 and 7 o'clock on 11 Alive. The rundown on WATL at 10 o'clock and again at 11 Alive at 11 o'clock. And 11alive.com will have all of the information that you may have missed this morning. So let's go back to the jury selection here in DeKalb County.
Oh. Juror number 52, you have sent a written communication to the clerk indicating that you wanted to bring my attention. Apparently you know someone who may work on the 6th floor.
Yes, my cousin.
Your cousin?
First cousin.
Your first cousin. What is his or her name?
Iris Lewis.
All right. Have you discussed this particular case with her or him?
I mentioned it to her when I saw her this morning.
Let me let the state follow any additional follow-up questions, followed by the defense.
Do you know where your cousin works in the building?
It's on the 6th floor. I think it's in, I just know it's on the 6th floor. When you come out the elevator, she works right.
Does she work for a judge or does she work in one of the offices?
I think she works in one of the offices.
One of the county offices? Okay, do you know which one?
No, I don't.
Mr. Speaker?
Yes. Ma'am, so your first cousin works on the 6th floor. When you first got a notice, you mentioned this to her in passing, that you were showing up as a potential juror in this case.
Yes.
Did she say anything to you or make any kind of physical gesture or anything like that to you that you think would have any influence on your ability to make your own mind up if you're selected as a juror?
No.
Okay. Now, I believe, maybe I misunderstood the court when you read your note. Was there another matter you wanted to bring to our attention as well, or was that the totality of what you think we may have not asked you?
That is basically it.
Okay.
And then as far as in like being on a jury for like 3 to 4 weeks or so,
right.
I don't know if my job would pay me for that.
Right.
So that was a concern of mine.
Right, right. You had indicated that is, I forget the name, you're at a hospice.
Longleaf Hospice.
We're not actually selecting the jurors this afternoon. We are qualifying them. We're making sure that we have enough that we can select them.
Okay.
Would you be able to check with your employer, or I don't know if it's large enough to have a human resources department, or whether it's smaller than that, but would you be able to check, and when you come back at the time that the clerk or the court tells you to, let us know what they said? In other words, can you ask them, hey, what's our policy about jury service?
Yes, I can ask them that.
And then you will be brought back here at the time that the court tells you to, and you can give us that answer then?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you very much.
Will you be able, because I'm going to go ahead and get you have access, if you don't have already access to the telephone, so you can make that inquiry. So I want to find out early this afternoon, okay?
Okay.
Also, This follow up, the way the note was written, was there any other responses you want to bring to my attention?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
State Person that's 52.
Your Honor, I'm gonna, let Ms. Cross, respond, but I did want to bring something to the court's attention, and I don't think she knew, but, and I don't think it matters, but I'll bring it to the court's attention anyway. She used to work for, her cousin used to work for me when I was solicitor, and I recognize the first name Iris on that side. Again, she didn't say she knew me, or she didn't know what office her cousin worked in, but just out of an abundance of caution and just as an officer of the court, want to let the court know that.
Before I ask on qualification, any other further inquiry about that?
No, sir. I think that does not disqualify her, and I guess we just need to wait and find out what her work policy is. We have no motions or anything like that.
Is she still qualified from the state?
Yes, sir.
Right now, she is still qualified? Right now? Yes. Should be number 55?
Yes.
Juror 55. Let me start by following up with one of the questions you raised your hand to this afternoon.
Okay.
Okay, I think you told us that either a close friend or family member that you know suffers from a mental illness. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is the person diagnosed
Yes.
with a mental illness? What's the
Bipolar disorder?
bipolar? How close are you to this individual?
Significantly.
Significantly. So have you had an opportunity to observe any of, I guess, the symptoms and behaviors that are associated with the disorder?
Yes.
And how would you characterize them? Would you say that they are continuous or sporadic?
Well, they're medicated, so they're pretty level.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to observe prior to the person being medicated?
Yes.
Okay. And would you be able to characterize the behavior at that point? Was it something that was continuous or was it sporadic?
It was sporadic.
All right. I'd also like to ask you a few follow-up questions from your questionnaire. And I'm going to just go ahead and start with the one where you told us that you are currently in the process of divorcing. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when you say in the process, complaints been filed and you are...
I have paperwork in my bag, you know.
Okay. Anything about the fact that you're currently in that process you think might affect you if you had to serve as a juror on a case for 2 or 3 weeks?
No.
Okay. Other thing I wanted to ask you dealt with the fact that you told us you knew someone who worked in law enforcement.
Yes.
Who is that and where do they work?
Judge Eleanor Ross.
You know Judge Ross?
Yes.
Okay, how do you know Judge Ross?
We were in a mommy group together.
You ever talk to Judge Ross about her work?
No.
And anything about the fact that you know her or your relationship with her you think might affect your ability to listen to evidence if you're selected as a juror and evaluate that evidence fairly and impartially?
No.
You said you're not really familiar with this case.
I don't watch a lot of television.
Okay. Are you somewhat familiar with it at all? Have you heard anything?
Vaguely.
Tell us what you have heard.
I know a man was killed several years ago outside of daycare in Dunwoody, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. And based on the information that you have heard, have you formed any opinions one way or another about the case?
No.
Anything about what you know or think you know about the case you think might impact you if you were selected to serve as a juror on the case?
No.
I think you also told us that you have 3 school-age children.
I do.
And you are a stay-at-home mom.
Yes.
And you're currently separated, so your husband's not in the home?
No.
At the moment. Would he be able to care for the children during the day if you were selected to?
Probably not. He travels a lot.
Okay. Would you be able to find or make arrangements for childcare if, for a 2-3 week period, if you were selected?
That would be difficult.
And, well, I appreciate difficult. I need to know if it's impossible.
I'm not accustomed to just leaving my children with strangers, and my babysitters are college students that will be returning to school. So right now it's an impossibility.
It's an impossibility?
Yes.
Okay, no neighbors or
No,
family
they all
members?
work.
Okay, and you don't know of any college students that you could call on?
No.
All right. Thank you.
Ms. Gordon?
Sure. 55, I apologize. I was unable to hear one of your answers. I understand that you're going through a divorce at this time. Did you move out, or has your husband moved out of the home?
My husband moved out.
Okay, and your mother-in-law lives in the home with you?
Yes,
And will she continue living in the home with you through the process of the divorce?
probably.
Is she able to take care of the 3 kids, the 3
No.
daughters you have?
She works for Fulton County Courts.
Okay, so you're a stay-at-home mom full-time then?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions.
All right, if you follow the instructions of the clerk, thank you very much.
Thank you.
State's position.
Your Honor, the juror may potentially qualify for a hardship for child care, but I will note that the children are 12, 9, and 7. So, well, I technically don't think she has a hardship. She stated on the record that it's an impossibility. I think she's a qualified juror, but we will leave it within the discretion of the court.
Mr. Morgan, what's the defense position?
Judge, she's a stay-at-home mom. There's no one else in the home to take care of 3 girls, 12, 9, and 7. I certainly don't believe that they should be left alone. Again, I don't think it's a technical hardship. I don't think it's a legal technical hardship, but I would be very uncomfortable leaving her on the jury if she were to be picked with that kind of burden.
All right, Lori, she's not technically qualified, but since she indicates she doesn't work, which is okay, but the breadwinner probably has to move out. I'm going to go ahead and grant her a hardship, and she'll be removed for cause. That'll be number 55. Removed. 56 should be next.
Yes.
Bring him already. All right. Ms. Hill is with you.
Thank you, Judge. Juror 56.
Yes.
I need to ask you a few follow-up questions to your questionnaires, that's okay? I think you told us that you were the only person working.
In my home, yes.
And you wanted to let us know that that could potentially be a problem for you if you were selected.
Yes, ma'am, because I'm just recently getting back to work from an accident previously. And like I said, I was out on injury for about a month and a half. April 22nd to April 22nd, went back to work around June. And right now, I've been subpoenaed to go to court to be a witness from the lady that hit me. You know, she knocked me off my motorcycle. And I'm going through nerve repair for my bottom lip and chin area. So basically all I'm trying to do is just catch up on bills. I mean, I exhausted my account because of me not working, you know, and taking care of my family.
Do you know what, let's see, where do you work? Let's see, you are a welder and a mechanic?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're currently employed with a truck service?
Yes, L&N Truck Service, yes, ma'am.
Do you know if they will pay you, if there's a policy about whether or not they'll pay you if you're called for jury?
I know for a fact they're not going to pay me.
They won't?
No, ma'am, because I just started working there about 4 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And obviously, if you don't work, you won't get paid?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Hold on.
Mr. Petrie.
Just very briefly, Your Honor. Sir, I
think you put this on your questionnaire, but I'm not sure. You are the sole breadwinner in your family for your wife and 4 children?
Yes, ma'am. My 2 sons and my 2 grandkids.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, sir, follow the instructions of the clerk, please. State position.
Yes, Judge, we would ask that the juror be excused for cause for financial hardship. I'll just state for the record, as he was telling me about his financial hardship, he became emotional. You see the tears welling up in his eyes.
Yes, sir, we agree with that.
All right, lawyers, if it's consent, I'll go and move the cause. 58 should be next, lawyers.
I have a 57.
Be correct, 57. 57 should be next.
Judge Mayor.
Here, proceed, yes, sir.
So I see that you have, I go to questionnaire, says, is there any reason you can think of that would affect your ability to serve as a fair and impartial juror in this case? And you're talking about inventory from a job and also having some other activities at work. Could you explain that to us and tell us what that is?
It's just basically kind of a situation where I'm pretty much leading inventory in my store, and I'm
Yes,
the
sir.
captain of it, and people really can't do things when I'm not there. It's just a situation like that.
It's just an important job.
It is.
Okay. All right. I also see that there was a situation when I go to question number 30, it says, have you been involved in the court system in any way? And it's talking about a case that you had. You indicated that you were treated fairly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How old were you when you went through that?
17.
17. Was it here in DeKalb County?
Yes, it was.
All right. Do you know if it was in the solicitor's office or the DA's office?
I can't remember.
You can't remember?
I can't recall.
All right. You've also had some exposure to publicity in this case as well, is that correct? You've seen or read or heard something?
I've just seen the trucks here.
Okay. I am looking at question number 50, and it's asking about publicity. It says, are you familiar with this case due to media coverage or otherwise?
Oh, yeah.
And it says, yes, just seen it on the news and followed the case somewhat, at least to see if the guy was guilty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tell us about that. I assume you're talking about the last trial.
Mm-hmm.
Did you follow that trial?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, I followed just basically towards the end, just to see what, what the end of it would be.
What was going to happen?
Yeah.
When you say towards the end, because it was a long trial, did you watch a week of it, a day of it, the verdict?
Probably, basically just the verdict, really.
Just the verdict?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember having any particular reaction to the verdict in the last trial?
No, not really.
Okay, all right. You have question number 51, a very sad situation. Is there anything about, I guess, you watching the verdict or any portion of the last trial that would affect your ability to sit as a fair and impartial juror in this case?
Not really.
Okay. You can set the fact that you think it was a sad situation or whatever you may have seen last trial, verdict included, aside, and listen to the instruction of the court when the court tells you to, look at the evidence fairly. You can do that?
Yes.
Okay. Mental illness. There's someone that you know is close to you that suffers from a mental illness?
Really, it's my wife's niece, so it's not really blood, but I deal with it. So.
Okay. Do you know what type of mental illness it is?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Have you been around enough to see any of the things that she does, like the symptoms?
Not really.
Okay. You just know she has a mental illness?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is it a child or an adult?
Child.
Okay. Just a second. Thank you.
1 second, Mr. Clerk.
So you have been involved in coaching one of your children's sports teams, is that correct? What is the, first off, the age of the kids at the time that you were involved in coaching them?
He was 4 and soccer.
4 and 5?
4.
And what sport, soccer?
Soccer.
Were you the actual head coach, I guess, or
No, I was just one of the assistants.
just kind of helping out? Okay. Did you play soccer yourself growing up, or?
No.
Okay. And is this a boy or a girl?
Boy.
Your experience watching the previous trial, did you follow what the defense was that was presented by the individual who was on trial?
Not really.
Okay. Did you pay attention to the testimony of any particular witness?
No.
Okay. Prior to receiving your summons to come into court, did the name Andrea Sneiderman mean anything to you?
I mean, I knew of her.
Okay. You knew of her?
Yeah, from the case.
Was that in conjunction with the previous case?
Yes.
Do you recall watching any of her testimony in that previous case?
None of it.
Did you form any opinion concerning her based on the previous case?
Not really, no.
Okay. So as you stand here today, you have no real opinion of her one way or the other based on the previous trial?
Yes, correct.
And you are completely fair and impartial and could be as to resolving this case?
That's correct.
Thank you very much, sir.
If you could call the clerk's instruction, please. Thank you very much. What's that?
No objection, Judge.
Okay.
I agree, Your Honor.
57 lawyers, is no one else is qualified. To the next. You may proceed.
Ma'am, you indicated that you, when I was asking questions earlier, that you have a close friend or a family member who has suffered or is suffering from a mental illness, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, how close is this family member to you?
Aunt.
Do you see her enough to tell us what the diagnosis may be, what the mental illness is?
Monthly, she's at, she resides at Georgia Mental, Georgia Regional.
At Georgia Regional? Okay, do you know what the diagnosis is? Do you know if it's
Mentally retarded.
mentally retarded?
Since birth.
Okay, so she was born like this? And I assume the condition is consistent? Okay, all right. You also indicated earlier that there was some, when the judge was asking about conflicts and hardships and things that are going to conflict with the trial, that there was something that you had coming up. And I want to follow up on that. What is that?
Well, I work for Emory University Financial Aid, and I'm the only one responsible for Pell reconciliation, federal grant reconciliation.
Federal grant?
And we're going through reconciliation, and it has to be done before the 30th.
All right, now I presume you're not the only person in the department. There are other people there.
Currently, I am, because the accountant left the job a month ago, and we're still in the process of hiring, and I have a letter from the director.
You have a letter from the director? And just without seeing it, I presume the letter states that you're the only person that works in the department to reconcile this?
Correct. And I'm leaving the country in September 1st, the first week of September.
Okay. You've also indicated that you have formed an opinion about this case?
Just based on what I've read and seen in the news in the past.
And well, let's start here. Let's step back a little bit. What have you read and seen in the news in the past?
The Newman trial.
Okay.
I did follow that, and the Sneiderman case that's coming up. Just because you see it on the news, you hear a little snippet of things, but not to the point of reading into it.
Now you understand that this is not the Newman trial, correct?
Correct.
And do you understand that the defendant wasn't charged in the Newman trial?
Correct.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And that if you're selected as a juror in this case, then what the court's going to instruct you is that you to set those things aside and look at the evidence and the facts, listen to the testimony, and make a decision based on those things. Are you telling us that you cannot do that?
I'm not saying that I cannot do it. I just say that I know a little bit about it, but not enough to, I mean, you can make a private opinion, but not a juror's opinion.
Can you set your private opinion apart and follow the court's instruction to make a decision, not based off of what you've heard on Channel 2 or 5 or anything like that, make a decision based off of what you hear in the courtroom from the witness stand? Can you do that?
Yes.
Are you sure about that? Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. There is a remark you made about an unwarranted arrest. Can you tell us about that? It was on question 40. It says, have you or a family member or a close friend had a particularly good or bad experience with the police or law enforcement? And it says unwarranted arrest, and as arrest as in plural.
My brother was arrested just for being in a group of, kids that was fighting or things like that. But that's pretty much it. My brother and I have some cousins that's been arrested just simply based on who they know or who they're with.
Who they're with? Guilt by association?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that here in DeKalb County? Okay.
DeKalb and Fulton.
Fulton. How old were your relatives that this happened to?
Early 30s.
Early 30s?
Late 20s.
And how long ago was it that this happened?
Maybe about 10 years ago.
10 years ago. Now, police officers are likely to testify in this case. What happened with your cousins or your relatives or your friends, would that prevent you from listening to their testimony and judging it based off of the evidence and the facts and what you hear in the courtroom? Could you be fair to the police officers in this case when they testify?
Yes.
Okay. And I believe there was also an armed robbery or some sort of crime, and you were not satisfied with the police response.
Yeah, my sister was robbed at an ATM at 8 months pregnant, and no one was ever found, and I don't think they did too much follow-up with her.
You don't feel like they did their best?
No.
Was that here in DeKalb County as well?
Correct.
All right, then I'll ask you the same question I just asked you. Is that going to keep you from listening to the evidence when the police officers testify and then judging what they say based on what you hear? Are you going to be able to be fair to the police?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
If you remain, Ms. Morgan.
Juror number 58, I'm not quite clear. I understand your job at Emory has to do with reconciling the students' Pell Grants, is that right?
And also, I do the disbursement, so with school starting, I will be pulling in the disbursement, federal disbursements. The federal government has gotten a little bit strict when it comes to how many people can go into their databases and download documentation.
Okay.
So, and I'm one of them. And the only other person that would have that clearance is on maternity leave. So the accountant being missing out of our office, I am basically the only one that can.
Well, that was my next question. The students are not going to get their checks unless you're there to enter the data. Is that what you're telling
To
us?
disperse it, yeah.
And did your boss provide a letter to that effect?
Correct.
Okay. So just to make sure I understand, you're the only person at Emory University, it's a big place. They can put this information in a computer so the kids get their tuition checks.
Well, it's because of the audit and because I haven't been the only one doing it at the time. I have to be the one, since I signed the checks, to be there to be participating in the audit.
So you also sign the checks when it cut?
Well, I don't sign the checks, it comes in electronically, and I have the electronic clearance.
And is this for kids who are students who are about to start their fall semester?
It's incoming and continuing students. We have 13 schools, and all of it comes out of the one financial aid office.
Okay. What would happen if you were like sick for 2 or 3 weeks? What would we do?
The director would take, I'm sure my director can do some things, but of course, he's been busy with directing the financial aid office.
You also have that you are starting college August the 12th?
Mm-hmm, but it is part-time.
Is that a day class or a night class?
Night.
Okay. So if you were out of this court by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, that
I can
being in trial will not interfere?
Not with the class, no.
Now, you also heard Judge Adams a few months ago ask all the jurors had they formed an opinion about this case as to the guilt or innocence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you didn't raise your hand.
Right.
And you also said that you could be fair and impartial.
Correct.
And on Friday, when you filled out this questionnaire and swore that it was true, you said you believed that Andrea Sneiderman was guilty. Has anything changed between Friday and today?
Well, only that those are opinions just based on, seeing the media, but I have been a juror before, so I know the difference between taking that out and looking at the evidence itself.
So you've been a juror and you can base it on the evidence. So the opinion you put here on Friday afternoon and on Friday morning when you filled this out.
That's based on Friday.
Okay. Nothing's happened since Friday and today that has changed your opinion. You're just saying that looking at the case, you can judge it fairly on the evidence.
Correct.
No further questions.
And Judge McFifty, I understand you may have presented a lot, you may even have it. But if I understand that your manager or director, he or she, if you're not available, I'm just following up on what Mr. Morgan asked, he or she could actually they'll be authorized to enter the data. I know they don't want to.
No, they would have to basically push it back until I got back because my name was on it from the
Well, I understand from the
school
previous
year,
one.
yeah, from the 12, 13.
But as Mr. Morgan asked the question, I mean, I know Emory's, from my picking on Emory, is a major, it's a big employer here in the area. And I understand the fall semester may be starting fairly soon, and I understand the importance of it, but wouldn't your, I'm just asking, wouldn't your, for lack of a term, manager or director be authorized to go in and enter that data if needed?
No, he would have to basically push it back. Our deadline is August 30th, but the Department of Education will allow us to push it back if it's necessary.
Oh, so the deadline is officially August 30th?
Correct.
So as long as you rack out work by August 3rd, I understand you got a lot of work to do between now and then. And you feel that even if you were here, if your manager would not be eligible to perform that task, you believe you could get an extension in which those individuals would not be penalized as a result of you doing your civic duty?
Correct.
Anything else you want to tell us?
No, other than leaving the country September 7th.
I'm going to get you on that flight.
Okay.
All right, let's follow the instructions of the clerk, please. Thank you. Next position.
Your Honor, she's qualified. She said she's been a juror before, she could set whatever she felt before aside, and she also didn't definitively state that Andrea Sneiderman was guilty. I think the response to question 51 was Andrea Sneiderman may be guilty. And so I think that was perhaps a mischaracterization of her statement. But she definitely stated that she could, that she could set it aside. And in terms of her conflict, it's Emory's hardship, but she indicated that they could get an extension from the Department of Education if need be. And she also intimated, but then she corrected it later, that someone else could do it, but she could definitely get an extension.
Mr. Morgan.
Judge, I agree. I do not think that she has some bias and prejudice that would necessitate her being excused. I do have a vested interest since my daughter is at Emory and would be getting one of those checks, so I hope it doesn't hold it up.
I understand. But at this point in time, lawyers, she's qualified. That'll be number 58, and I will, before you bring this So number 58 will be qualified. As of right now. Floor is approach.
Good afternoon. I'm Jeff Hullinger, and we are watching the proceedings as you are wherever you may be. This is the second session today of trying to find jurors for the charges facing Andrea Sneiderman. It is the state of Georgia versus Ms. Sneiderman, and as of 12 noon today, they had a pool of 40. They need to pick actual 12 jurors and 3 alternates, and the expectation is they will accomplish such a task by 1:30 on Thursday afternoon. There are some curious aspects of what we have been able to hear from this afternoon proceeding that began around 1:30, a little more than an hour and a half ago. Among them, you have heard repeatedly reference to the George Zimmerman trial in Florida from earlier in the month as a sort of metaphor that the system is not always fair. At least that is the perspective from some of the prospective jurors that we have been able to hear from this afternoon. Again, the timetable on this is floating somewhat. We're trying to figure out if some of the evidence will be submitted. The actual court proceedings will begin on Friday, or will it begin after a delay of the weekend and then commence on Monday? That is something we still do not know yet. One of the attorneys said earlier today that he expects this trial will go on for approximately 3 weeks, which some of the experts that we have talked to over the last 24 to 48 hours have sort of projected that it would be a week to a week and a half affair. That still may be the case, but we are hearing at least from one of the attorneys today that there is the belief that this could go through most of the month of August. A reminder that we are going to have a panel of experts at 7 o'clock tonight. We will have an update on all the proceedings at 6 o'clock, and of course on the rundown at 10 on WATL, and then at 11 o'clock on 11 Alive. Glenda Hatchett, the former judge who has had a very successful syndicated television show on court proceedings over the last decade, will be with DeMarco Morgan in our studio answering some of the questions that you may have tweeted us or perhaps you have put on our Facebook page. She will try to answer some of that. I will also have an attorney with me outside of the courthouse here in Decatur. Bill Morrison will be joining me. He has experience in criminal defense as well, as you're taking a look at Andrea Sneiderman, who prior to the afternoon session we had the opportunity to see her and seemed to be in a good mood, a joyous mood. She was smiling a lot, engaging a number of people inside the courtroom before the session began, as this proceeding now has gone on for her under a cloud of suspicion for almost more than a year. The murder charges were dropped, as you know, on Friday, but she is still facing some very, very serious charges that, if convicted on these charges, could land her in jail for a long time. So that is the stakes, and that is the situation, and we will have more coming your way here on 11 Alive. And also you can, if you are just joining us, sort of dialing in and dialing out to try to get a sense of how this is playing out today, and we're wondering what has transpired, you can get an update. And you can do that by checking out 11alive.com. We have a whole section on the Andrea Sneiderman trial, and there you can get an update. You can also check out on Twitter. Jay Watson is tweeting from inside the courtroom, as is Julie Wolfe, and they have some illuminating information, I think, that will give you some fascinating insight to this sort of long, drawn-out process to try and find some jurors seated for this trial. So we will take it back inside the courtroom as Judge Gregory A. Adams is proceeding. The attorneys for both the prosecution and the defense now have been called to the bench to talk with Judge Adams about an assortment of issues as they continue to try and get this jury pool going. As of 12 noon today, they had 30. They need 10 more. Of course, they will have 12 and then 3 alternates, and then that healthy pool if need be.
All right, Kelly, before, we're back on the record. As far as the next potential juror was juror number 59, what's the state's position?
That's the juror number 59, Your Honor?
Based on the questionnaire, yes.
Oh, based on the questionnaire, the state would ask the court to excuse juror number 59 for cause, Your Honor.
And we concur.
All right, 59 lawyers in agreement, and I will accept that recommendation, will be removed for cause. In a questioning sequence, back now I know we're gonna take a break, but it's so we'll be on the same page. The next potential juror will be number 60. And I will talk to jury management and we will work out some of the logistics about the afternoon and tomorrow session, okay? We're at recess, it'll be 10 minutes. All right. Baby, see?
It's real soon. Thank you.
Yes, during the trial, yes. You know what I'm hoping to do? Upload them to Ignite and incorporate them into a memo.
Thank you, sir.
Apparently, this is caused very much.
Yeah, well, yeah, so I think all kinds of children.
No, they're a team. They are. So they make you feel like that in general. Yeah, even just a little mini photos. These make me feel like I should be on a heat plantation in Malaysia with somebody's family. You know, it's texted me that they keep the 19 years from during the breaks. That's it. We're bringing back. We should probably be to 203. Well, no, 202 and 203. 143, 201, 202, and 203. Here's the date because they feel like they could be here. I don't see it here. He's assuming, you can see how far we get today. These guys have not even had general questions on this one. I will bring them all. There's no sense in you see 201, 202, and 203 are coming in. Look at that tomorrow. They're here. No, they haven't been sworn. There's no sense in it. This chatterbox ready to cross. Do you guys agree that there's no reason to use anytime they were scheduling even we've still got this group, 82 through 103 contact, and we're bringing back even more. So there's no way we're going to get yeah.
All right. All right, you ready to see it? Bring in, stay ready.
State's ready.
State's ready.
Yes, sir.
Bring in number 60. You ready to proceed?
Juror number 60, you indicated in question number 11 that you had some sort of conflict. You also indicated when the court was asking questions that you had some sort of conflict that you wanted to tell us about.
Absolutely. I've lived in DeKalb County since '92, on and off. It's probably the 12th time I've been to jury selection. I'm self-employed. I have 8 employees. I'm good for a couple of days, but I feel like an extended 2 to 4 week trial would be really, really difficult for me to do.
Explain to me how that would be difficult. What effect would it have on your business?
You know, if this were a 2 to 3 couple of days, it's a little bit easier for me. My employees somewhat rely on me on day-to-day operations, not necessarily that I'm micromanaging, but over a period of 2 to 4 weeks with purchasing supplies, doing things such as making decisions on how the business runs, employment, it would be a little bit of a stressful situation over a long period of time.
Okay, let's step back. First of all, what is your business?
Apartment development.
Apartment development. And what is apartment development?
What we do is we buy apartments, fix them up, rent them out. We have about 500 apartments. They extend from Clayton to DeKalb over to Fulton County. We run about 8 employees, 2 leasing agents, and 5 to 6 maintenance guys.
So what is your role on a day-to-day basis?
It can be anything from going to get supplies, making decisions on what units are going to become available, showing units, anything from making sure people are showing up, training new people. We have 2 new people that have just joined, and Our business right now, what makes it a little bit difficult at this point is that people are starting to go back to school, parents, things like that. So it's somewhat of a seasonal business. We're trying to get everything leased up right now before the end of August, really before technically that window of new school move-ins.
You say we and our. Is there a vice president, your partner?
I'm a partner. I have investors. I have none of them really are in the day-to-day operations. I use we as in terms of the entire operation, my staff, in that sense.
Okay, so what happens if you're not there? If you get selected, you have to stay for 2-3 weeks. What happens?
I don't really know from a perspective of moving people in would be probably the biggest problem. I do all the move-ins for properties. I do all the inspections for properties. Like I said, I think if this were a shorter amount of time, a few days or something like that, it would not be really a big deal for us, for me. But over a long period of time, it becomes a little more complicated.
You indicated that there was an arrest for a DUI, but no conviction. It says girlfriend arrested for DUI.
Oh, yes, girlfriend.
I'm sorry. It said not you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Do you believe that she was treated fairly through that process?
I do.
Okay. Was that here in DeKalb County?
I don't remember. I don't know. I think it was Fulton County, to be honest with you.
You've also had discussions with people about this case, correct?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about those discussions.
Really, I don't know a lot about the case. I just know the way that it ended with Mr. Newman being arrested or being convicted.
It says friends after Henry Newman was convicted. Tell me what y'all discussed, what y'all said.
I don't remember. I just remember having how the outcome of the case came about.
Okay. You're familiar with the media coverage, and I'm talking specifically about this case, not the Newman case. How much media coverage have you seen on this case?
Almost none.
Okay.
I mean, almost zero on this. And
question number 54, you indicated that the wife of Mr. Sneiderman, I'm trying to read it right here. I'm having trouble. I think it was the way it was presented. The wife of Mr. Sneiderman and her, Your Honor, may I approach the witness with this question?
I may not be able to read it myself.
For me, I can't read it.
Let me do it this way. Jay, if you could just hand that way, you just hand it the copy.
And it's highlighted.
Oh.
Yeah, I write this. I believe that what I did hear from that case was, I don't need that. I believe that Ms. Sneiderman, there were conflicts within what she told the police that first day that Mr. Newman was arrested or something to that effect.
Okay. All right. Where did you hear that from? Or how did you ascertain that?
Media.
Media.
Or friends. It's been a long time. I don't remember.
If you sit in this trial as a juror, you're going to have to set aside any opinions or any conclusions that you've arrived at or come to based on things that you've heard in the public, based on what you've heard in the media. You're going to have to make a decision. It's going to be the court's instruction based off of the facts and the evidence and the testimony, the things that happen in this courtroom. Can you do that?
Yeah, I don't think that would be a problem.
Okay. Question number 59. In my opinion, Mrs. Sneiderman did not seem to grieve or show emotion, empathy at the loss / death of her husband. How did you come to that conclusion?
It's just my recollections from the early part of media campaign.
Okay. Is that something, that recollection, is that something that's going to affect your ability to sit as a fair and impartial juror in this case?
I don't think so.
Okay. I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Clegg.
Yes, thank you, sir. Sir, your business, if I understand it correctly, are you primarily involved in purchasing older apartment buildings, renovating them, and then getting them up to speed so they can be rented out?
Yes, sir.
And do you subsequently try to sell them after they have been renovated, or are you intending to hold them for a fairly long period of time?
We hold for a fairly long time.
How long have you been in this business?
Since 1994.
And you are constantly, right now, are you actually renovating certain properties?
On a small scale, yes, but the bigger operations we haven't done in several
The
years.
8 folks who work for you, what is it they do day in, day out?
Maintain current properties and on a very smaller scale renovate units.
Do you have crew chiefs who go out, or are each of the 8 individuals given a specific assignment by you every day?
I have a supervisor. We sit down and I give them a weekly goal to achieve, and then I spend most of my week making sure that those goals are being achieved by staff.
Is it necessary for you to monitor their progress on a regular basis?
Absolutely.
Okay. And you had indicated a perhaps 2 to 3 day trial would be feasible, but you might have difficulty with something lasting a number of weeks. Is that correct?
An extended period of time would be difficult.
Okay. Would that inhibit or limit your ability to monitor the progress that the various crews were making doing whatever task they were assigned to?
I've never been in this position, so I don't really know what would happen after an extended period of time. So to answer your question, I don't know what would happen without inspection or oversight on basically a weekly basis or every 2 or 3 days, keeping up with what's going on.
Okay. Would that be something you could do on the weekends, or is that something that simply could not be accomplished during that short period of time?
I don't know. Like I said, I've never really been in this position before where I would be out of contact for several weeks, so I don't know. I'm usually pretty involved in the operation.
Mr. James had asked you whether you had a business partner. I believe you indicated that you had. Is your role analogous to being the CEO of the business?
I'd say more of the operations, chief of operations.
Chief operating officer?
Yes.
Okay. Does your partner actually involve himself or herself in any of the day-to-day activities of the business?
No, sir.
Is your partner in a position to be able to step in and assume those responsibilities?
Maybe. I have no idea. It would.
Has you ever asked your partner previously to do that?
Yes, on a limited basis to do a move-in or sign documents or things like that I have.
Okay. But your partner, is it fair to say, has never done what you do on a regular basis?
That is absolutely the case.
Do you believe your business would be adversely affected as a result of your having to sit on a jury for the period of time we are contemplating?
Yes, sir.
Would that affect your ability to focus on and pay attention to the evidence presented in the case?
Yes, sir. I do believe it would.
Okay. Now, you watched the first 48, is that correct?
I do.
How frequently do you watch that show?
As much as I can, but I probably clock in maybe 1 or 2 times a week.
Okay. And have they ever filmed or have you ever watched any episodes that appear to have been set in DeKalb County?
No, I do not think so.
Talking about this particular case, you indicated that one thing that you had become aware of was the fact that Mrs. Sneiderman apparently had had certain communications with people during the course of the day when her husband was killed.
Yes.
Can you be more specific than that as to the extent of your knowledge?
I cannot.
Okay. Does that fact make you conclude or have an opinion as to whether or not she had knowledge that her husband was going to be killed?
No, sir.
Does it give you any opinion as you stand here today as to the guilt or innocence of the charges that she has pending against her?
No, sir.
Okay. The second matter you specifically commented on dealt with your opinion that she did not seem to show grief or emotion or empathy at the death of her husband. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What specifically are you basing that on?
Feelings, it was from a long time ago. I remember from the miscommunications that appeared to go on from that first day, that they seemed to indicate to me that there was maybe a lack of interest or a lack of emotion that I would think would be proper.
So your concern or your opinion in that regard relates to her alleged behavior at or about the time of the death of her husband. Is that correct? Have you familiarized yourself with any of the evidence showing her emotional state on November 18th of 2010, which is the day Rusty Sneiderman died?
No, sir.
Do you have any knowledge of her emotional state at the time of the funeral of her husband several days later?
No, sir.
Good enough, sir. I have nothing further.
Thank you. Just following the instruction of the clerk. Thank you very much. The next position.
I believe he's qualified juror, Judge.
Defense.
I believe in light of his employment situation here, not actually his employment, his business, the fact that he's got 8 folks who work for him, the fact that his business partner has no documented history of stepping in on a regular basis and doing what he does day in, day out. And in light of the fact that he said if he were to be selected to sit on this jury, he would have a hard time focusing on the testimony by virtue of the fact that he would be concerned about the fact that his business was not being run, that he qualifies for a hardship, and I would ask you to excuse him. Also ask you to excuse him on the grounds that he did say he would have difficulty paying and focusing the degree of attention which is necessary in this case, Your Honor.
All right, Kelly, we're back on the record. Lawyers, I think he meets the basic qualifications to be qualified, but only thing that gives me any pause is that he represents that he is self-employed, although he does have a business partner. Lawyers, I'm going to go ahead and remove the call based upon a possible financial hardship in the his business, although it's very close, but I'm going to err on the side of letting him go at this point in time. Bring in number 61. You may proceed.
Thank you. Juror 61, this is not the first time you've been called for jury service, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, when was the last time you served as a juror in a criminal case?
I believe it was about 10 years ago here in DeKalb County.
Here in DeKalb County?
About 10 years.
All right. And what did you think of that experience overall?
It was interesting.
Okay. And not how you would choose to spend your time?
Excuse me?
Not generally how you would choose to spend your time, but...
Not necessarily, but it was interesting. I enjoyed, serving.
I don't have written down that you raised your card at all this morning or this afternoon when the judge was asking general questions. So you don't have any scheduling conflicts, anything like that we need to know? You are a nurse at the Shepherd Center.
That's correct.
You've been there for several years. What specifically do you do? Are you
I'm a bedside nurse essentially, but at times I do charge nursing as well.
You do?
Yeah, relief charge.
Okay. You know a little bit about this case. You said you'd heard about it, but don't have any opinion.
No, I don't.
Okay. Anything since you've been here change your mind about that? Cause you to have an opinion one way or the other?
No.
Do you think of any reason you wouldn't be a fair and impartial juror for both the state and the defense in this case?
No.
Thank you.
Mr. Morgan?
Thank you. There's this one, after you were trained in New York as a nurse, and you got your master's as well, too, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you work up there before coming to Georgia?
Yes, I worked there for about 17 years. I've been a nurse for 34 years.
And is your specialty in catastrophic illness such as spinal injuries?
Not everything. I did neurosurgery, and I also did home care nursing. So I've been out, visiting patients.
How did you end up at Shepherd's? I mean, that's got
How
to be
to
an
end up at
emotional
Shepherd?
toll, isn't it?
Well, I'll be quite honest. The reason why I went to Shepherd, I needed to find a job that would be on the weekends, working at nights, because I had small children at that time. So that was my choice, and I also had that experience before, so I went to Shepherd.
Which shift are you working at Shepherd's now?
I work Thursday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night.
Thursday night, are you working 11 to 7? Or
I work from 6:30 p.m. until 7 a.m. in the morning.
Okay. If you were selected as a juror in this case, and we would be going on Fridays and Mondays, would you try to work that shift the night
No, I
before?
would not be able to work. They are aware that I'm at jury duty presently, and I told them I would update them in terms of what's going to be going on.
Okay, I just want to make sure, you were not going to try to work all night?
No, oh, no, no.
Just, we want to make that.
No, I don't think I could do that.
Okay. And you attend Dr. Stanley's church?
Occasionally, my husband is one normally who goes there, but I do on occasion. I work Saturday night, so I don't go too often on Sunday.
Understandable.
Yeah, I do.
But do you attend his church up in Dunwoody?
Yes, I'm assuming that's where it is, on 285.
And you don't know anything about this case in relationship to the geography of that church? Is that correct?
No, I don't.
Okay, and you have very little knowledge about this case?
Very little knowledge.
Nothing further, Judge.
Thank you. You can follow the instructions of the clerk. The state's position.
No objection to this jury, Your Honor.
Defense.
No objection.
61 to be qualified.
Your Honor, may I just bring some of the court's attention before the next juror comes out?
You may.
We don't need to approach. This next juror, Your Honor, indicated that she has scoliosis, so the court may look and decide she needs to sit down during the question. She indicated that was a medical condition that she has.
That's fine. Also, what time is it? I will need to meet with the representative from WSB and Mr. Richards, or whoever is the spokesperson for the media. Parties with the media and Mr. Richards, or whoever is representative of WSB or Mr. Krugam, if we could plan on having a meeting at 4:30 here in this courtroom. Would that be, let me ask the question this way, would that interfere with your I just got to talk about an issue, but I won't interfere with your deadlines.
I can handle that.
Okay. Bring in 62. Sure, number 60, you may be seated. You may proceed.
Juror 62, can you tell us how your medical condition might affect you if you were a juror on this case?
I just, like, if I sit a certain amount of time, I start to hurt, so I can't just sit in one place.
Okay. Were you having any pain or difficulty when you came for jury service, either on Friday or today?
Like I said, when I sit down, it just hurt. Like, you see how I lean? It hurts, like, just to sit in one place, especially in, like, these chairs.
Those chairs are
very uncomfortable.
Make it uncomfortable.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything to do that we could do, stretch breaks, things like that, that could accommodate your situation, or do you think a trial of this length, 3 weeks or so, would be too much?
If I could just, stand, go somewhere and just stand, I mean, I'd be fine.
When you use the term go somewhere and stand, if you were on the jury, would standing in that box be okay, or you need to be able to walk around and move around?
I mean, as long as I can just, like, stretch, I'll be fine.
Have you had, and I know you came up on Friday for a good number of hours, you were here for several hours now. Have you been in any stretch? Has your discomfort been to the extent that you would be unable to focus and listen to the evidence?
No.
Are you on any type of medication that affects your ability to listen, hear, or stay awake?
No, like, if I take it at nighttime and I get, take it at a certain time, I'll be okay to stay woke.
All right. You may continue.
I have no further questions.
Mr.
No questions.
Beecher? All right. You may follow the instructions of the clerk. Thank you. What's the position?
I think we moved to excuse this juror for a medical hardship, Your Honor. I think she had a very good attitude and is willing to fulfill her civic duty, but I would note for the record that she did have difficulty walking in and out of the courtroom, and as I was discussing her level of discomfort with her, she appeared visibly uncomfortable.
I would concur with that, Your Honor, that I asked the court to excuse her due to her medical disability.
All right, I will accept that recommendation. 62 will release the cause. Next person is 63.
Juror 63. Tell me, have you recently moved into Atlanta?
I am moving as of the 31st tomorrow. I am moving out of my house into Atlanta.
Okay, and your address in Atlanta, is that DeKalb County or is that Fulton County?
It's Atlanta, Georgia.
Is it Atlanta, Georgia?
What county is it?
Do you know which
Because
county?
that's part of.
I'm not sure what county. I don't know if the address says Atlanta, Georgia. It's right off of Glenwood, which I'm moving right off of Glenwood. So it's at the other end of Glenwood at 20, right at Highway 20.
You know where Moreland Avenue is?
Yes.
Are you on this side of Moreland Avenue or the side closest to the stadium side of Moreland Avenue?
I am on the side closer to the stadium.
This side?
Mm-hmm. Moreland's here.
Okay.
Moreland's here. Glenwood's here. I am right off. If you come down, if you turn off Moreland onto Glenwood, and right there at the bridge where 20 is, I'm right after the bridge. The street right after.
The ridge?
Bridge.
The bridge?
The bridge. The overpass over 20.
Okay.
The next street after that, I'm on that next street.
I understand. Okay, but and with Moreland Avenue, when I say are you closer to Decatur or are you closer to Atlanta? I'm just trying to get.
I'm closer to Atlanta.
Okay, because
I'm closer to Moreland than I am to Decatur.
Okay, go ahead.
Your Honor, if I might suggest that the juror write down the new address, I certainly don't
Yes.
want to know it, but,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe the jury clerk or something, we could
Yeah.
check to make sure. And all the concern is just making sure whether, if you were selected as a juror in the case, you would still be a DeKalb County resident.
Correct.
Well, you live in Cap right now, though, right?
Yes, I'm in the cap right now.
And you're moving tomorrow?
I am moving as of today. My brothers and I are moving myself out. My lease is up tomorrow.
All right.
All right.
You also let us know that,
Good lawyer approach.
And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jeff Hullinger here in Decatur, outside the DeKalb County Courthouse. You are watching the proceedings of jury selection in the case against Andrea Sneiderman. Murder charges were dropped last Friday, and now there is the attempt to try and seat a jury so that the evidence can begin in this case. We are not sure when that will begin. The speculation has been perhaps on Friday, perhaps on Monday. This we do know. Judge Adams has decreed that a jury will be in place. The expectation is from the judge that Thursday by 1:30 everybody should be in place. As of noon, there were 30 potential jurors that were qualified. As of about an hour ago, there were 33, and you have heard the questioning of many others. And we have heard a litany of opinions, thoughts, observations, and musings from prospective jurors, not only about their personal lives, but their professional lives, and their view of this case, which has received so much widespread attention on television, on radio, in the newspaper, not only locally, but regionally and nationally as well. There is the belief that everybody knows about this case, and at least coming into this selection process, that everybody had an opinion. But I think one of the headlines that we have learned from this day has been the fact that there are a lot of people out there that have really digested a lot of information, yet they still are unsure as to the guilt or innocence of Andrea Sneiderman. So they continue. The break came today about 12 o'clock, and then we have begun for the afternoon session about 1:30, 1:35, somewhere in that area, and we are 7 minutes before 4 o'clock. So we are making our way on the second day of jury selection, and we now will pick up the proceedings here in Decatur.
You may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. You also are the primary caregiver for a child or an elderly relative?
I have 3 kids, and I have one that's special needs. He's deaf.
Okay, that's your 19-year-old?
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of day-to-day care does his situation involved for you?
Pretty much, right now, he's in my full care. I do work, and he does go to the Atlanta Area School for the Deaf, which he will be starting as of August the 6th.
Okay. So if you are a juror in this case and we begin testimony on the 5th, you would need to be here Monday and be here for 2 to 3 weeks after that. What kind of hardship, if any, would then you have in caring for your
I don't have any child care for him after he gets home. That's why my job has a time set that I leave at 2:45, that I'm home when he gets there.
Okay, what time does he get home?
He gets home at 3:15.
At 3:15.
And I also have a 9-year-old.
Okay, and your job as a healthcare tech at the Clinton Public School System, that allows you to be home for him when he gets home?
Correct.
Okay. What arrangements or what substitute arrangements do you have for him when you are unavailable for some other reason?
I don't.
You don't?
No. Their dad is military and he is stationed in Washington State and we're not together.
Okay.
So I'm the only one that takes care of it.
All right. Your son that we're talking about is 19.
Mm-hmm.
Does he have some other, besides his hearing difficulty, does he have another issue or any other medical condition that?
No,
that,
my 9-year-old. My 9-year-old has ADHD.
Okay. And what kind of care does your 9-year-old require?
I don't really have him in any kind of programs other than me taking care of him.
Okay. All right. You identified for us that you are close to somebody who has a mental illness.
My mother.
Your mother? Okay. And not to get very personal, but can you tell me if there was a diagnosis?
She has Alzheimer's.
Okay. Prior to her developing that disease, did she have any kind of mental illness?
No. It runs in our family.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Clay, or?
I don't believe I have any questions yet.
Okay, thank you very much. What's the state's position?
Okay, I think that this juror is excusable for her hardship, Your Honor.
We have no objection, Your Honor. We agree.
All right, Lord, since there's an agreement, I will let her go for cause hardship. Number 64 should be coming in next. You may proceed.
Thank you. Juror 64?
If you can stand down there. Thank you.
You raised your hand that you had a hardship or a scheduling problem with being here for jury service. Can you tell me what that is?
I'm in college.
You're in college?
Yes.
Okay. And your classes start August 19th?
Yes.
Is that what you wrote down? Okay. What classes do you have? How many? What kind of
Right
hours
now-
do you have starting on the 19th?
Right now, I registered for 3 classes. I have pre-calculus, history 2, and I have political science.
Okay.
And that's
Which days of the week do you?
Mondays and Wednesdays.
Mondays and Wednesdays. All 3 classes are Monday, Wednesday?
Yeah, but that's the 3 I applied for right now. I'm applying for 1 more.
Okay. Would that class also be a Monday, Wednesday class?
Yes.
If you were selected as a juror in this case and unable to go to classes that would begin the 19th, we estimate that the trial would last 2 to 3 weeks, and that would be 1 week of your class once it had started. What kind of problem would that present for you?
I could possibly fail.
I think that's all the questions I have for you. Thank you.
Mr. Morgan?
Yes, Your Honor, just a few follow-up
You may.
questions. I didn't hear, are you attending college here in the metro area?
Clarkston?
Clarkson. And you're entering freshman, is that right?
No, sophomore.
Okay, sophomore, so you already have a year behind. What's your major?
Business administration.
And you work at the Farmers Market in College
Yes.
Park?
In Jonesboro, Forest Park.
In Jonesboro. And you're 19 years old, right?
Yes.
And according to your juror questionnaire, you started working there when you were 11?
Yeah. No, I started working when I was 11. I started working there when I was 11.
Okay, you started working though when you were 11?
Yeah.
And who do you live with? Do you reside with the family or?
Yes, my family.
Okay. But again, you're starting classes on the 19th?
Yes.
And
Schedule start.
every Monday and Wednesday?
Yes.
And some calculus, political science, and others?
And history too, yes.
And history. No further questions.
Are you taking evening classes or day classes?
My classes start at from 8:30 to 9:45, from 10 to 11:15, and then from 11 to 2:15, and then my next round schedule is going to be from 2:30 to 3:45.
Thank you. You can install the instructions of the clerk. Mr. State's position.
Because of this juror's status as a full-time student, the state would move to excuse him for hardship.
Morgan.
I believe he is eligible to be excused from the judge.
All right. Since there's a consensus, bill number 6. Lori 65 should be next. Number 65, I should say. You stand right here, right there.
In front of the first.
All right, in front of the first chair. Okay. Thank you, juror number 65.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
You ready?
Thank you. I just want to ask a couple follow-up questions. You told us you have a potential conflict if you get selected to serve as a juror.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about it and how it serves as a hardship?
Okay, because I'm a divorced mother of 3 right now and also a part-time student at Point University.
How old are your children?
17, 15, and 11.
All right. They're out of school right now, is
They
that
are
correct?
correct.
And if you were to just be gone during normal business hours and able to be home at night?
Well, that would conflict with my schoolwork though.
With your schoolwork, okay. And how many classes are you taking in the evening?
Right now, currently 1 is my last class before my degree is finished.
Okay, your last class before your degree.
Yeah.
What time is your class?
It is from 6 to 10, and then the rest is all online, forums and essays and stuff.
In Point University, where is it located?
East Point.
In East Point. If you were selected to serve as a juror, how would your service affect your ability to get to class on time and to focus, if at all?
I think most of it is mostly just being able to study and do my research. So I don't know how long we would have to be here, but it would take away from the time that I usually do my research, which is usually right after work or sometimes in between there.
And when do classes start?
The class starts at 6 p.m.
I'm sorry, are you currently in session now?
Yes, I'm currently in session, yes.
Okay. All right. And if you had to serve as a juror, do you believe the fact that you have 3 children who you wouldn't be able to care for, as well as your school responsibilities would preoccupy you to the point that you would not be able to concentrate on the evidence?
Correct.
All right. And I'm just going to go through your questionnaire really quickly because I think you pointed out for us the fact that you had to be here made you angry.
Yes, it did.
Tell us about that. I mean,
yes, because just the fact that I have to have this case come in and interfere with a lot of stuff. I just started a new job. It's a month just on Friday, and so it's new and I'm still in a probation period. So yeah, that made me a little angry because I had to halt everything to come here and do that. Plus I just started my new class. So yeah.
so you really, I don't want to put words in your mouth and I don't want to be stronger than you intend for for us to receive it.
Right.
But it sounds as though you resent the fact that you actually have to be here because it's interfering
Yes.
with what you have going on.
Right, correct.
And that would affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you. Ma'am, you indicated that you were angry because you got a notice to be here.
Yes, correct. Maybe the time is off.
Okay. Would you agree with me that unless jurors are willing to come to court and sit as jurors, then court's going to collapse?
Correct, but I understand that people have different schedules and mine is not at this time free.
I understand that, but you understand that nobody in this courtroom, when that notice came out, had any idea what your schedule was?
Correct, and it's, yeah, been written down.
Okay, it has, but you're not inconvenienced, you're not annoyed, you're angry.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I fully understand what you expressed, what you've written. Strike that. I follow the instructions of the clerk.
Come on, follow you.
What's the state's position?
Your Honor, based on the juror's questionnaire and her responses, I'm going to ask that she be removed for cause. Clearly, she doesn't want to be here. She's indicated that she could not be a fair and impartial juror if she saw it. Because of that.
Defense.
Your Honor, I hate to throw in the briar patch, and I hate to leave a bad taste in my mouth, but I concur. I move that she be excused from cause from serving in this case, whether or not.
I've already, since there's an agreement, I will go along with that position. 66. Hello.
Hello, Your Honor.
You may proceed, Mr. James.
Judge, juror number 66, I am looking at my notes and the general portion. We were asking all of you all questions this morning. I don't see that you responded to anything that I asked you or that the judge put forward. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. You've indicated that you have seen or heard something about this case.
I'm sorry?
That you've seen or heard something about this case
Yeah.
in the news. Can you tell us what that is?
Years ago, nothing recent, when the incident first happened.
Okay, so let's start back then. Tell me what you heard about it when the incident first happened.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I don't look at the news a lot, but I remember the storyline.
Yes, ma'am.
But that's as much as I remember. I don't know the details.
Okay. Did you see it on multiple news broadcasts, or did you just watch it one time, trying to gauge how much exposure you had to the case?
Okay, maybe once. I don't watch the news, like I said, because of all the bad stuff.
I understand. Anything lately?
No, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So do you have strong feelings or opinions, positive or negative, about the criminal justice system? Says, please explain. You put not really, and I want to make sure that I understand you correctly. Does that mean not at all, or does that mean not really?
Not really, negative or positively, just neutral.
It just sort of is what it is.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that I haven't asked you that you think that we should know?
No, sir, not that I can think of.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Mr. Morgan again?
Mr. Clay, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Clay. Yes, sir.
Both of your kids are teachers, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And what subjects do they teach?
My daughter's an elementary school teacher, but she teaches a variety, and my son is a high school teacher where he coaches basketball.
Where does he coach basketball?
In South Florida.
South Georgia. Okay. How long has he been?
South Florida.
South Florida, okay. Is he the head coach of the team?
No, just an assistant coach.
You have an interesting education and a different career. You got a degree in social work, and now you are working for the Internal Revenue Service.
Yes, sir.
What do you do for the Internal Revenue Service?
Currently, I'm a supervisor for the customer service department at the Internal Revenue Service, and I am a manager for about 10 employees.
Do you manage them on a day-to-day basis?
Yes, sir.
You had indicated in response to one of Mr. James's questions some small degree of knowledge of this case. I think you might have used the word, you followed the storyline initially or something to that effect.
Initially. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you, when you say initially, would that have been at the time of the actual incident?
Yes,
the
sir.
shooting? Would you have followed it after the shooting?
No.
Do you recall being made aware of the fact that a suspect had initially been arrested?
No.
Okay. Do you recall anything about pretrial proceedings leading up to the trial of that suspect?
No, sir.
Do you recall anything about the trial of that suspect?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you watch any of the trial or hear reports of any of the trial in either the TV or the newspaper?
No, sir.
Okay. Prior to coming to court, had you ever heard the name Andrea Sneiderman before?
Yes, sir.
And what was the context in which you would have heard the name Andrea Sneiderman?
Years ago when the initial incident happened.
Okay. Did you draw any sort of opinion or make any sort of opinion of Andrea Sneiderman years ago when you first heard her name?
No, sir.
Did you understand what her alleged involvement was one way or the other in the situation?
No, sir, not really.
Is it fair to say, based on your lack of knowledge in this case, you have no opinion as you stand here today as to which side ought to prevail?
I have no opinion, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Number 66, if you could follow the instructions of the clerk. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
State's position.
I believe she's qualified, Your Honor.
Defense.
I concur, Your Honor.
66 qualified.
Your Honor, before we bring in Ms. Sherman, I have to confer with the state. I think we're all 67.
Yes, sir. You may confer with the state. That would be, 68 lawyers should be next. You may proceed, Mr. James.
Thank you, Judge. This morning, or earlier today, rather, when the court or either myself asked about conflicts, I believe it was the court, you indicated that you did have some sort of conflict.
I just wasn't sure how long it would last. I have going to Oklahoma City the second week in September.
In September?
September.
I'll get you there.
Hey, I've got a software release and we're still trying to get it out, so.
Thank you. In your questionnaire, you responded to a question about media coverage, and you said, yes, I have heard of it. It being this case, I presume. Tell me what well, first of all, did you hear about the case that you're here for today, or did you hear about
No,
the previous case?
the whole Dunwoody daycare incident.
Okay, so tell me what you've heard.
I heard that a man was shot in the parking lot of the daycare, and I heard that the gentleman that was arrested was obsessed with the defendant.
Okay. And where did you hear this from?
On the news.
Did you hear anything else about any relationship to the parties? The gentleman that shot the other guy in the parking lot and the defendant, or did you just heard that there was an obsession?
It just said it was an obsession.
Okay. You said avoidance of, it says, in terms of opinions, you said avoidance of handguns due to brother's murder, then something about violent acts in the news.
I basically just kind of tune out any news coverage. Life's crazy enough as it is.
Okay. I do not believe I have any other questions except for this. With anything that you've heard in the media, or that you've spoken about with other people, would any of that prevent you from being a fair and impartial juror in this case?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, you indicated that your brother was killed at a convenience store robbery almost 30 years ago.
Yes, sir.
And in distinguishing that from what, like this case, you made some comment about, and it looks like MISC crime, miscellaneous crime, is that what you said? The question was, do you feel that you cannot or should not serve as a juror in this case for any reason not covered by this questionnaire? And your answer was, I wish I could say that due to brother's murder, I have issues, hyphen. But that was in 1985, and it looks like MISC crime, not something premeditated.
Oh, right, a miscellaneous random act of violence.
Okay, this was he an employee there or a customer?
He was working behind the register.
Okay, and this was an armed robbery that went
It was
bad?
an armed robbery that went bad, yes.
Okay, doesn't make him any less of a victim, but this was not a premeditated
Correct.
Killing, as you understand this case might have been.
As I understand this case may have been, yes.
Okay. Now, you seem to have a bit of sardonic personality in a question a couple of times before that. Based on what you have heard about the case or on the facts as set out above, is there anything about the case that might make it difficult for you to sit as a fair and impartial juror? And if I'm reading your answer correctly, it says, unfortunately, no.
Unfortunately, no, because I have a software enhancement that needs to go out, and the length of time for a court case kind of impedes my personal life.
What I'm reading here is, I'm serving on this jury would not be number one on my list, but I don't have, other than the software going out, I don't have a problem that would keep me from.
No, I don't have a problem with that being an issue. It's just I have a lot of work to do.
Let me ask you about the software release. I think you said it's due sometime in the next few weeks.
Yes.
If you are selected as a juror and the case takes approximately as long as we think, which is starting on this coming Monday, August the 5th, we're anticipating it should take around 3 weeks. So 3 5-day period. So we did, let's see, the 5th, 12th, 19th, sometime around the end of the week of the 19th.
Okay.
What's that going to do to your project?
It should not have any impact.
Okay. Would you be able to, if you're selected as a juror, come into here during the day, focus on this case, and not worry about your project?
Yes.
Okay. Now, earlier on, ma'am, you indicated that insofar as a physical problem that might make it difficult, you said, as long as I have back support.
Yes, sir.
Have you had an opportunity to sit in one of these chairs?
I have.
I'm going to take a wild guess and think that that's probably not the kind of back support that you need.
I have an extra lumbar pillow.
Okay, you do have a back.
Yeah, I blew a back disc back in 2006, so as long as I have an ergonomic additional lower back support.
And you could bring that?
Yes, I can.
Would you have any reservation if Judge Adams were to, like if all of a sudden you realize, whoa, I need to stretch, would you have any reservations about raising your hand just to let us know that you need to stand up or you need to take a break?
No.
If the court allowed that.
If the court allowed it, yes.
It's not up to me, but if the court will allow you to take a reasonable stretch break every so often and you had your lumbar support, do you believe that you would be able to focus on the case and not be in enough discomfort?
Oh, yes.
Okay, okay. If you'll bear with me just a minute, please, ma'am. I think that covers the areas that I want to cover with you. Going back to what the state has some familiarity with this case, very general, You don't pay a whole lot of attention to the news.
No.
And there's nothing that you have heard, read, or seen about this case that would prevent you from being a juror who bases her decision on what happens in this courtroom combined with the law that the court gives you.
With the laws and the facts, correct.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Number 68, would you follow the instruction of the clerk, please? This clerk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good seeing you. State's possession.
Qualified,
Defense.
Concur, Your Honor.
68 is qualified. Lawyers.
69.
Lawyers approach.
Yes, sir.
Go.